Meta reached an $18 billion settlement with states over teen social media usage. Now, why has this happened? Well, social media, especially the ones from Meta like Instagram and Facebook, have consistently showed recommended teens, posts of unrealistic images. For example, people with 500 pounds of makeup on them, and then 2 hours of Photoshop and lighting and angles, and then posted on social media, which creates unrealistic standards. Plus, also attention spans with also false information being spread among teenagers on social media, especially ones that are 13 and under and over as well, which cause a lot of mental health issues. Kids have committed harm on themselves and other people because of these types of posts, the things that they are being exposed to on Instagram and Facebook and other Meta platforms. And not only Meta, it's YouTube and TikTok. And Meta is calling on YouTube and TikTok to follow through with this. But which is absolutely correct. And you know what? TikTok, out of all of them, is the one that's most responsible for this mental health crisis that we've seen. Because what TikTok has done, well, at first TikTok was kind of a revolutionized version of social media where there's short form videos and then you can have like some information in a short amount of time, and kind of like a easy to swallow pill of information, and then you can go to the. So it started off looking useful and kind of being useful, and then during COVID, because TikTok got a lot of popularity during COVID, it was first Musically and then it became TikTok, gained a lot of popularity through COVID, and it used COVID and people being locked up in their homes as a tool to be like, okay, we'll get people hooked on to our social media platform because they have nothing else to do. So we'll get people hooked on to our social media platform, and we can get a bunch of money off of it, and we can start this whole revolutionized thing. So TikTok started doing this, and then YouTube followed through, and then obviously Instagram Reels was there, and then so many other platforms started to follow through with this. So like if you look at any type of social media platform, all of them have had, or any video sharing platform by now, every single one of them has a shorts section of their video platform where it's not long form but like 60-second to 3-minute videos on online where people can just keep scrolling, and then we come to the point of doom scrolling, right? All of this have if you see pre-COVID, like 2019 and before, kids weren't as bad as they are now. People are still recovering from what COVID has done and all the lockdowns have done to children. Kids are still recovering, especially kids. They are all still recovering. And I did a podcast interview recently, which is supposed to come out soon, uh, which I talk about these situations, like the amount of uh, kids who have committed terrible acts on themselves and sometimes on others just because they have lost all meaning and all purpose and are just doom scrolling online, looking at whatever influencers are telling them to do. And a lot of this is like a bunch of doomer things, which is like a lot of really bad information, a lot of discouraging information, a lot of false information that are being shown to these children, which causes so many kids to just lose all hope and then become severely mentally depressed and anxious and all the rest of the things that come with isolation for years. This is what Biden administration and all these Democrats did with the lockdowns. They were, of course, it was all in panic. People are, they were all especially for the COVID vaccine as well. It's all in panic. That's understandable. But even after the fact, where it said lockdowns didn't have as much of an impact on the on COVID spread as it was widely reported. That's they still did the lockdowns. That's pretty that's terrible. And what Gavin Newsom did, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, Gavin Newsom. Well, you know what he did? He put a lockdown on children in school. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't play in the park. They couldn't do anything. They were locked in their homes. And what did Gavin Newsom do? Guess what he did? He went to a French Laundry with no mask. There's a video. There's a picture of it. With no mask, he was wearing no mask, gathering in a French laundry and eating a fancy dinner, while all of his peasants in his state are just locked in their homes. And he calls Trump a dictator. Okay, okay. So this is what's been happening, and it serves Meta right that they are being sued on this, and and good for Meta for also bringing YouTube and TikTok into this situation. If you're a parent, you might not even know this, but your kid probably still has some. Even if they don't show it, they still might have some residual effects of severe social isolation from the COVID-19 lockdowns, and you might not even know it. And there's going to be some effects and some behavioral changes of children from these things that might not go away. Fortunately, some kids recovered from it. A lot of kids did not. And what makes it terrible is that Meta and then especially TikTok took advantage of this. And then YouTube Shorts came around, and that's when really things became mainstream. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and then from there it's you can see what's been happening. You could not. I mean, pre 2019, pre COVID, you could not. I mean, people were still on their phones. Don't get me wrong, but not to the extent as we are now. We got so addicted to phones and devices. I'm not even talking about adults. Kids, children got so addicted to phones and devices that I mean, it's incredible. I went to the Library of Congress in Washington D.C. It's beautiful architecture. You could not. There's no one in the right mind can go there and not admire every single part of that building and all the history in that building. Every single part of it is amazing. And I see kids just sitting on the bench on their phones. What? This is what COVID did. You're seeing beautiful architecture, beautiful art everywhere, beautiful history. Everything is incredible in that one building. DC is incredible in the first place, but in that building, it's incredible. And there's just kids on their phones, their head, just pointing down on their phones, just scrolling, doom scrolling. I see them on TikTok, and like they don't appreciate what's going on right in front of them, the history in this building that they're in. They're just on their phones. That's exactly what COVID did. It's destroyed the minds of children and teenagers especially, and people have been chronically online. You know what? I made a change. I was very addicted. I got very addicted to video games during COVID. I was severely addicted. I've made a pledge to myself. I haven't played a video game in in 2 years. Like I haven't spent like more than an hour or two a day playing video games for 2 years because I realized what the COVID lockdown did, and I realized what these platforms was trying to do to me. I was doom scrolling all the time, and then I figured out, what am I doing? Like this is not good. So and it's not even. I made a pledge to stop like being more chronically online, but in doing so, I don't even have to try stop. I don't even have to try to stop, playing video games or or just try and read a book instead of, a video game or some mindless video. I don't even have to like think about that because I want to do it now because it makes me feel good, right? Kids like, and I mean, it was mind-boggling to me that I see these kids in the Library of Congress on their phones, not appreciating everything that's around them. It's incredible. It's really incredible, and that's something that's incredible. This is what TikTok and Meta or Instagram and YouTube has all ruined, is that the appreciation of where you can just go on your phone and you can see the Library of Congress on Google Maps or whatever. You can see a 3D virtual view of the Library of Congress online, and that to me, if I see the Library of Congress online before I go to the Library of Congress, I would say this is pretty cool. But I would still love to go to the Library of Congress because it's the building, it's the real thing. You can appreciate it in person. This is the real thing. But what social media has done to people and children especially is that they think social media and what you're looking online is the equivalent to being in person. It's like it's like it's literally like, okay, you want to I mean, I don't even know what's bigger, the White House. Let's say you want to go to the White House, visit the White House, for example, or do a tour of the White House. All right, and then you look online a video of inside the White House, and you say, "Hey, that's good enough." Not really, right? You know, it would still be pretty cool to go and take a tour of the White House, right? So, and to these kids, I would hope that's the case for them, that they would appreciate the real thing than the one online, which is quite frankly just not real. It's pixels on a screen. It's not the real thing, and it's I don't know. It's just incredible to me, and I don't know. I think these kids were maybe on a field trip, and I don't know if it's the fault of the school or the teacher for not making them appreciated enough to where they're on their phones, or they even have phones on a field trip like this, and they're not taught to appreciate what's in front of them. I don't know what it is, or I don't know if it's just due to TikTok and social media, and I don't know if it's a combination of both. But I do know one thing. It's definitely one. I know it's definitely one or the other, if not both, which is the social media, which create makes kids not appreciate what's in front of them. And we can see the decline. I mean, you don't even have to like look at the statistics. Go to any kid. Just think about it. Think about it. Go to any kid that you know or any teenager pre 2019, pre COVID. How were they like? How are they like? And then after, how are they like now? And you know, I've seen, you know, I was kind of a part of this thing during COVID, where which I regret, but now I'm not, thankfully. Or about the antisocial types, where there's literally hoodies of like the antisocial club. I mean, it's like that was normalized during that among children and everything. There's, you know, there's literally hoodies made of that says antisocial club. No, that, you know, that was what's normalized there, and that's what's caused kids to be severely chronically online. You know, I mean, you know, before it used to be a joke where, you know, there would be, you know, I'm not just saying this as like a, oh, as a what if scenario. I've seen it where, you know, it used to be a joke where kids are so online, are so like chronically online, addicted to their phones, or even if they're right next to each other, they'll still be texting each other even though they're right next to each other. That used to be a joke. Now that's reality. I've seen it countless times. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that, where there's kids right, and I see them, they're on their phone, they're texting each other while they're next to each other. I'm like, what are you doing? So these things are happening in the real world as a product to what TikTok started, and then what YouTube carried on and the Instagram Reels carried on, to which every single, so you can't escape it. You can't escape the Shorts platform. The Shorts version, or the TikTok version, you know, the 9:16 aspect ratio videos, you cannot escape those anywhere. They'll and it's ruined attention spans. Not only we're just talking about the appreciation of what's around you, right? You're looking at beautiful architecture and you're just on your phone scrolling on Instagram, looking at some mindless influencer who's talking about, you know, what Dua Lipa is doing or whatever, you know. It so so we're talking about appreciation of reality and what's in front of you. Now let's talk about the attention span. The attention span is terrible. It's terrible. Before, the shorts were just supposed to be this information. It's a video. Maybe at most there would be some captions or subtitles in the video, and you would just talk. And then it added. I mean, it didn't even have to be captions. First, it was just a video. Then there were captions to like make there's some animation, some movement in the video, so you get kind of attentive to it. And now there's and then they added music, background music, and then there's sound effects music, and now there's zooming in and out of the video, and now there's, you know, twisting the screen 360 degrees to get something, and then now there's explosions at the start of the video. Now what I've noticed in YouTube Shorts, and even in long form videos now, but in YouTube Shorts now, if you see every single video, they kind of zoom out and then they zoom back in, every single one, if you've noticed that. And that's because that's part, if you do not have that, it's probably a recipe for the disaster of not getting enough views and impressions that you want on a social media video or content you're publishing. Like, that's like a go-to thing, and that's unfortunate because now even adults are getting to it, but especially children. That's why children cannot read books. I mean, they can. Children can read books. I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that's why they're not uh, interested in reading books because it's like before. Fine. I mean, social media is interesting, video games, whatever. Now it's not even about. There's more interesting things online. It's that they just cannot read a book, and I was like that too. I'm not speaking for other people. I know there's kids like that, but I'm speaking for myself. Now I've taught myself how to read a book because I found out, hey, reading a book is better than watching some mindless video. It's not really important. That doesn't give me any information or doesn't make me learn anything. There are videos that do educate you, but that's not the majority of videos people are watching right now. And but to give credit, there are a lot of content creators who do educate with YouTube Shorts, and very entertaining actually, which I applaud them for that. One comes to mind, Vsauce or Zach D Films. All of these people, they're using that platform and that tactic of shorts and attention span to make people learn, but it shouldn't have come to that, right? I mean, I found out reading books is better for me, which isn't why I like to read books now. But before, I couldn't read a book because I couldn't read one page without going out of it, right? I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at all. Now I can, but I couldn't do it before because I spent literally 12 hours a day scrolling on YouTube Shorts. I never had TikTok. Thankfully, I never had TikTok. But I spent like 12 hours a day scrolling on YouTube Shorts. And that's amazing. And now I'm looking back on like, how can you do that? How can you do that and still have, you know, any coherent thought process to you that's actually useful for society and yourself? Like, and, having a goal for yourself, not just watching 12 hours of YouTube Shorts all day. And speaking of a goal, you know, I have so my book Order from Chaos, which is why I did that podcast interview that should be coming out soon. I wrote this because a lot of times people commit crimes or violence because they feel like they don't have a purpose. And also, not only that, the underlying idea of people committing crimes and violence is because of mental health. Okay, but why does the mental health problems occur? And that's because people feel like they don't have a purpose. Not everyone. It's not the case for everyone, but what I've noticed for myself, and also, when I had depression during COVID, which thank God I'm not anymore, because I got out of that social media kind of cult where I was just scrolling endlessly for 12 hours a day. I got out of that and I got better. And this goes to another reason of like antidepressants and SSRIs are not actually needed majority of the time. It's that people just need to get out of their house and do something productive for themselves and other people, that's doing something good for society, community service, whatever it is, or working out yourself, that actually helps you get out of the space of depression and social isolation, right? So the reason these mental health problems occur a lot of times, especially due to COVID, that happened during COVID, is because people are so socially isolated that they forgot how to interact with people. When they forget about how to interact with people, they forget how to move on in society. Because to move on in society, to get ahead in society, to be successful, you need to interact with people. You need to know how to interact with people. So when people don't know how to do that, like they lost that skill, they they don't know what to do with themselves. They have no idea what to do with themselves, especially for high school students and teenagers who are trying to figure out what they want to do. And then all of a sudden this thing comes, they lose that skill of and then now they're kind of stuck because their brain is like, okay, well, socializing is not an option because you don't have the skill. So now what do you do? So you feel stuck, and you kind of feel like you don't have a purpose, and that's what happens. That's why people start scrolling online. That's why some people started, making videos online during that phase to find something to do. And also, people just started playing video games mindlessly because what video games do, it's a rewarding process, right? You do something and you get rewarded for it. Let's say you finish a level of a game, you get rewarded some amount of in-game currency where you can then buy stuff and whatever. Or you it's a mission based game, or it's, where you have to complete a mission and then you do something, you get a reward out of it. That it mimics real life, and that's why people came to video games, because it mimics real life, and because they cannot find anything else to do in real life. So when people start doing other stuff, when they start building that social skills, when they start building the social skills, and when they start figuring out what they want to do, when they find how can they find a purpose, and everything like that, they get out of that phase of depression and whatever that came from the social isolation from the COVID lockdowns, which the Meta and TikTok and YouTube and all the rest of them, all the rest of the social media platforms took advantage of, to make people more addicted, so they can get more money out of it, and because they didn't really care about it as long as they were getting attention, because these were the people who were getting the most money during this phase. It was of course, the drug companies, the people who were making the masks, they got a bunch of money from it. People who were making the sanitizers, the hand soaps, all of them, they got a bunch of money out of it. That's all there. But the companies who are outside of that were the digital companies, where people like social media companies or e-commerce company. All of these people made a lot of money out of it. So they took advantage of the situation, and they got money out of it. Fine, they can take advantage of the situation because the market's changed due to different things. That's fine. They can figure out how to make things work, and they can use things to their advantage. What they did wrong was not caring about the teenagers in that situation. They could have done many other things that could have brought them more money and more users, but instead they took advantage of the teenagers and the kids, without any regard for their mental well-being, and because of that, a lot of kids were quite frankly traumatized by social isolation and severe depression and all of that stuff. It's a good thing they are doing this settlement and also calling on TikTok and YouTube to do these things. So back to my book. The reason I wrote my book, Order from Chaos, and it's available for Audible and ebooks as well, where it talks about the roots of violence, the cultural roots of violence, and how to heal them. Okay, so the cultural roots of violence is the realization of social isolation and antisocial behavior, which causes a collapse in the social fabric, in this societal fabric, where the main thing you have to do to succeed is socialize, and when you take that away, you end up becoming mentally troubled, for lack of the better word. And because of that, this is why all of this chaos starts happening. So you can buy the book. It's very useful. It'll support me. I'm also writing more books that are trying to help society. So appreciate if you buy the book. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so. In short, it's very good that Meta is doing this, and of course, a part of it is that they will make up the profits of those billions of dollars, because it's good for them market wise. Because if they didn't settle, they would lose a lot of stock. And then they would get into more trouble if they did settle, which they did settle. When they did settle, stock will go up, and they'll mostly recover it, and users will start going back to their platform because they think it's a little bit more moral of a company, which you can debate that, but because they have kind of solidified their morality in this situation, they will get more users out of it, and they'll get a stock increase. More people will buy the stock. So